All right, so today we're talking about will you reincarnate on Earth again? And I think that this is a question I get all the time, and something that people want to know again and again is, are they going to reincarnate on Earth? And I hear a lot of people that go, oh, this is my last incarnation. I'm never going to reincarnate here again. This place is terrible. This is it. I'm done. After this, I'm not incarnating on Earth again. So this is a good time to talk about this. Is not only will you reincarnate on Earth, but could you possibly reincarnate on another planet or in another dimension? Or are you going to not reincarnate at all? This is something that there's a huge misconception about in a lot of New Age spirituality and Eastern religions, etc. So it's something to tackle. Now, the first thing that we are going to talk about with regard to reincarnating on Earth, and just reincarnation in general, is this idea of familiarity. So here's the thing. We are not our bodies. Our bodies are just avatars. We are eternal minds, beings of frequencies, Zedic minds. And as beings of frequencies, we are not inside of this domain. We are outside of this domain, in the frequency domain. It just seems like we're in this domain because our body, our nervous system, our senses is feeding us information, and it's allowing us to interface with this domain. It's the VR headset that lets us interact with the VR world. Our body is the interface that allows us to interact in the space-time domain, the space-time world. So what happens when we die, we of course don't actually die. It's just our avatars that, as Zetas, enter into what we call the death current. Now, the death current, the reason why we call it the death current is because it is mostly an unconscious process. It's sort of like when you go to sleep and dream, you don't realize that you are dreaming, and so you just go along with the flow of the dream. It's like being caught in a current, caught in a river. And so it's likely very similar when we die, that you're in this death current. And it seems like this because almost every time that we enter into a state that is not tuned into our body, whether it's tuned into our sleeping domain when we dream, or if we do psychedelics and we're in a DMT realm or something like this, there's not very much control that we have over it. We're usually in an unconscious state where we forget what we are or what's going on, and we just go with the flow. Now, disclaimer as usual, don't do anything dangerous and don't do anything illegal. But so it's very likely, based on what we know about how reality works and our experiences with tuning into other domains other than this one, it's usually an unconscious process. So when we die, it's our bodies that pass away, and we as Zetas enter into the death current. And this is an unconscious state, and this is a state that we remain in for a time and go over a life review, and then and the life review is, of course, going over all the data, all the information, all the experiences that were meaningful to us, that impacted us in our life. Because the whole point of localizing or incarnating in avatars is to experience, learn, and grow. So we have this life review where we go over this data. And then being in the death current is also a time to relax away from being localized in a body. And then I'm sure that there are many kinds of experiences that we have there that we just don't know what occurs there yet. We might whether it's just experiencing our own internal frequencies, internal domains, or whether we are experiencing different frequency domains or something like that, we just don't know yet. But with what we do know, which is that it's a time away from being localized in the holos, having a body in the physical domain, and there is likely a life review and many other experiences that we have there. Now, ultimately, what will occur is a relocalization or reincarnation in another body. Just like when you go to sleep and have a dream, you will inevitably wake up at a certain point. So you will inevitably localize or relocalize or reincarnate again. Now, this will, this is unlikely something that we have control over unless we are a very highly evolved mind. If we are a very powerful, very highly evolved mind, then it is possible that we may be conscious in the death current and maybe can perhaps make certain choices. But for most of the population, for the majority of minds that are at the level where they are experiencing reality as human, it is likely that it will be unconscious for most people. Again, not for everyone. There are some highly evolved minds where that it could be a choice. But for most people, it's going to be this unconscious process. And because it's an unconscious process, so now here's where it comes to the question of, is it going to be Earth? Is it going to be another planet? Is it going to be another dimension, etc.? Well, it is very likely that it is going to be Earth. And the reason why that it is very likely that it is going to be Earth is because you have spent many, 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 many lifetimes on Earth, and not just as humans, but as animals and all sorts of different lifetimes. And so since you have spent all these different lifetimes accumulating data, becoming used to the avatars of Earth, becoming used to the environment of Earth, your mind has been evolving for Earth. It's kind of like, just like there's physical evolution, there's also mental evolution. Well, all the animals and avatars and bodies that are on Earth have evolved to adapt and survive on Earth. If you took, an animal, took an elephant and dropped it over on, planet Xenon or something, it's probably not going to have a good time. It's not evolved to live there. It's going to be a very unhappy elephant. So likewise, you as a mind are evolving and gathering information and transforming based on the experiences that you have on Earth. So because of this, it's very, very likely that you as a mind, when you're going through this process of relocalization, it's likely that you are going to be drawn to Earth, because your mind has evolved and adapted to be compatible with Earth. Now, of course, can I say that we know this with 100% certainty? No, of course not. Can't say that. But extrapolating based on what we know, it seems more likely that a mind would gravitate towards that which it is familiar with, that which it has adapted to, rather than another planet where it would be highly unfamiliar with the types of avatars and the types of environment there. Is it impossible? No, of course not. And once again, if a mind is highly evolved and conscious in the death current, then it could possibly make the choice to go towards another planet. But for the most part, in general, it seems very likely it's going to be an unconscious process where minds are drawn back to Earth due to the familiarity and how minds have evolved to adapt for Earth. And remember, this is why we want to look at things in a rational way. This is why meta-rationalism is about understanding the metaphysical domain rationally. We want to understand this to the best of our knowledge, the best that we can, while understanding that it's possible that we could be wrong. These are areas that need more study, but extrapolating on from what we know, this is what seems likely. So based on that, with that in mind, what about other dimensions? Other dimensions seems even more unlikely, because the reason why other dimensions seems more unlikely is because other dimensions are going to be created by group minds. And because other dimensions are created by group minds, these are going to be dimensions that are just beyond what our mind is even capable of not handling, but it's going to be extremely advanced. It would be like what's very, very similar to when you have a DMT experience, and it's just so mind-bogglingly overwhelming because the geometry is different, the modes of communication are different, just everything is absolutely startling and new and extremely advanced and beyond what we're used to. So it's highly, highly unlikely that a mind would be able to do another dimension for multiple reasons. One, because it hasn't developed a tuning function to tune into a very specific domain. That would be like knowing the frequency to tune into a very specific channel. And then even if one was able to tune to that very specific channel, it would just be, extremely disorienting, and a mind that's not really at the level to experience something like that. So when it comes to Earth, it seems very likely it will be Earth. Possibly another planet, more likely Earth because of the way that a mind has evolved to become familiar with it. And then when it comes to other dimensions, highly, highly, highly unlikely, because the mind has not even developed a tuning function to tune into those domains. And it would just be an extremely advanced experience that the mind hasn't become adapted for. Again, if it's a highly evolved mind, then And, I mean, you think about it, highly evolved minds may even be from these other domains. It's possible that these group minds, these subnetwork minds, have minds that go, oh, you know what? We choose to localize on Earth in order to help Earth's evolutionary trajectory. And so they help Earth's evolutionary trajectory. And then when their avatar passes away, they can return to the domain, frequency domain in the subnetwork mind from which they originated. That's possible. So these are all possibilities. But extrapolating from what we know, it seems most likely that unconscious localization on Earth is what occurs. Now, here's the thing. Most people think that this is a terrible thing and a bad thing. They want to escape Earth. They want to get away. They never want to incarnate again. I can't tell you how many times I look in the stream, people going, this is the last time I'm incarnating. This is the last time I'm localizing. I hate Earth. It's terrible. I hate physical reality. I never want to experience physical reality again. And what I always tell people is that it's not physical reality that you don't like. It's the fact that this particular planet has just been created in such a way that it leads to very unpleasant experiences, because we have a world that's stuck in survival mode and hasn't yet moved to the next phase of existence, which is a planetary civilization where we're thriving. If we were in a planetary civilization where we're thriving, people would be like, this is great. I can't wait to localize on here again, because there's all these great experiences that we can have together in diversity, the types of experiences that are very unique to having a physical existence, that are great and magnificent and fun and exhilarating. But I want to read some quotes real quick here by, let's see, it's by Story Waters on medium.com. Okay. So it's called Consciousness 101, The 5 Steps to Witness the Mirror of Reality. That's the article, but that's not really what I want to focus on. There's just a couple of excerpts that I want to read from it that I think really highlight what I'm talking about. So, as usual, if you like the excerpts that I read, if you like them, go support Story Waters on medium.com. Go subscribe to them or follow them or however that works there, and support them. But this is really important because, like I said, people have this negative idea of localizing on Earth, and we really need to change this. The reason why we really need to change this is because you have this problem. Think about all these people who are like, oh, I don't want to localize back on Earth. I don't want to localize back on Earth. Well, guess what? You're going to localize back on Earth anyway. You're going to localize back on Earth anyway. So really what one should do is focus on creating a better world so that we can have a great experience together. So as soon as one starts working on yourself and everyone starts working on creating a better world, we'll have a better world. Look at all these different religions. Christianity, that's like, oh, the kingdom of heaven, we have to reach heaven. Forget about this life. Fuck this life. We want to go to heaven. And then Buddhism, that's like, oh, fuck this life. We want nirvana. And all the different religions that are about, who cares about this life? Who cares about this existence? We want heaven. We want nirvana. We want this. We want this. We want to ascend to whatever. Guess what? Earth is not going to get better if you keep treating it like shit. So imagine if all the different religions, instead of being like, oh, let's escape Earth, were about, let's transform Earth. Well, guess what? We would have a beautiful new Earth. We would have a new Earth as soon as people started, guess what? Big crazy idea, taking care of it and building a better Earth and establishing a community that is working together in harmony. Then we'll have a fantastic Earth. The problem is that all these different religions and thought systems have told their followers that Earth is a terrible place, physical reality sucks, we need to escape it. And so now, yeah, we're going to have a reality that sucks, because you treat something like trash, it's going to be trashy. So I want to read a couple of these excerpts from Story Waters that says, resolve any desire that you have to escape or not return to this world. It says, there is far more to your psyche than what you directly experience. To spiritually wake up is to discover that your outer reality is only one aspect of your consciousness, an aspect that you're highly focused on. The experience of enlightenment is often described as waking up to the illusion. However, this can lead to the misconception that if you see through the illusion, you ascend and leave this world. Now, a couple things here. First of all, this isn't to say that at some point we won't transcend material reality. We will at some point. We will. But the way we get to that point is through this. It's about growing. And you can't skip this stage. It's kind of like if you're the seed, you can't be the oak tree right away. You have to be the sprout, and you have to go through a period of growth. When we transcend the material world, this is the third phase of existence called holos independence. Right? So we have survival, we have planetary civilization, and holos independence. Right now, humanity's in survival. We want to get to planetary civilization, where as neogenians, we create a teleocratic world society. And then we're working together in harmony and thriving. Then we all start operating and synchronizing together and form a collective mind, a subnetwork mind, where we're both individuals but unified at the same time. Then we transcend the holos. We're now eternal minds that have formed a subnetwork mind, and we establish our own collective frequency domain, our own dimension, our own CFD, our own subverse, our own universe. And so we create this domain, and then we're no longer reliant on the physical. We've transcended, and we have our own domain now where we can create whatever we want. But the whole point is creating this learning how to create a cohesive, unified society is the stepping stone to us creating a subnetwork interconnected network mind. That's the whole point. The Earth is a incubator for a network mind to form. It's a Zedic synchronization function. Earth is here for Zedic minds to learn how to synchronize together and form a network. That's why you go from survival, which is just about having avatars where Zetas can have self-awareness in general. Then you go to planetary civilization, which is about establishing an interconnected planetary civilization, where now this is where the learning how to work together and forming a network comes in. And finally, now you've worked together so well that you no longer need the physical anymore, and you can create your own. We create our own domain. But if everyone's like, hey, let's get the fuck off Earth, this place is shit, let's just crap all over the place and then get the fuck out. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And you guess what? You're going to have a shitty world, and society's going to collapse, and it's going to just happen again and again and again until people finally realize what they need to do. So this idea of escaping all the time, it's not good. It's not good at all. So, but I understand why. I don't blame you. I'm not, so don't feel bad if you feel that way. I understand. It's just, this is how we fix it. I'm telling you, this is why we need to initiate the neogenian. The new beginning is what we have to establish to have this teleocratic world society and create a better existence. So anyway, Story Waters says, the idea of ascension has arisen from the deepest lie within humanity's spiritual teachings. This was not a lie created out of malice or a desire to control. It was a lie that naturally arose from our experience of pain, right? This world sucks, I'm in pain, let's ascend, right? This lie we so often tell ourselves, the lie that is embedded within the world's religion, is that no one really wants to be human. It is the idea that being human is a difficult stage of our spiritual evolution that we must endure in order to get to the good bit. Our life, our nature, our very being is seen as a price we must pay, a test we must take, or a penance we must fulfill. Yeah, so people look at this as a very, very bad thing. Now, it can be difficult, but you have to understand that there's a lot of great things that come with being physical. There's a lot of, there's always talk about how the angels fell because they wanted to enjoy physical existence. These are, of course, metaphors, but there's a lot of interesting things that come with being physical. Now, this is a difficult and hard time because of the state of the world right now, but it doesn't need to be like this. It can change as soon as we want. So it says, any spiritual teaching that conveys any idea you should want to escape or move beyond this world is leading you away from awakening, not toward it. Any teachings that pander to our desire to escape this life is not telling us a deeper truth about reality. It is speaking to our desire to escape, a desire created by the limited perspective we take on when mortal. Any teaching that tells us life is a punishment is not telling us some hard truth for which the wise are contrite. It is turning our feelings of shame and unworthiness against us. And so I agree with this for the most part. However, there is a point where we will, like I said, there is a point where we will transcend and we will create our own CFD, collective frequency domain. So that will occur. It's not like we're always going to be on Earth all the time. We will ascend. We will transcend. But it still shouldn't, this shouldn't be looked at as something to escape. It's not something that should be avoided. It's something that's a necessary step. And once we get to the phase of planetary civilization, it doesn't even have to be unpleasant anymore. Like, it is unpleasant right now. I think that Story Waters goes a little far by saying that it's almost like we will never transcend, or thinking about any of this as unpleasant is negative. And you know, I don't particularly agree with that. There are very unpleasant things about being in this stage right now. This stage can be very unpleasant. It doesn't mean we can't still enjoy aspects of this life. We absolutely can and should. But it is a very unpleasant stage. It's very fractured. It's very hateful. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of death. It's very unpleasant. But once we get to the stage of planetary civilization, it's not so unpleasant anymore. It's enjoyable. There are still challenges, but it changes to a pleasant challenge. Like a video game is fun, where you can have challenges, but they're fun challenges because we're all working together. No one's hurting or hating or killing each other. Sure, we can still have challenges, but they'll be fun challenges. They'll be interesting challenges, etc. But anyway, I don't completely agree with the idea of, oh, like, none of this should be looked at as unpleasant. There are very unpleasant things about it right now, but we will get to a point where it's not. But we will only get to a point where it's not by creating this experience together, by will forming it. We have to will form it into existence. Anyway, the desire to the energy of escape is the energy of resisting. This is very true. And rejecting life. To awaken is the path of love and allowance. The desire to escape comes from the particular way we experience this reality, namely how deeply we have chosen to experience mortality. To completely release the desire to escape instead of trying to fight it is to see that you are not contained in this reality in the way that you think. So it says you are a vessel of reality. Your consciousness is creating your experience through how it chooses to perceive. You contain the potential of all realities and you enter them by focusing on them. It takes a level of profound focus to be mortal. So now Storywater says you incarnated here because you focused here. And that is true. You did incarnate here because you focused here. But again, not necessarily a conscious choice. I don't know. It seems more like Storywaters is saying that it's a conscious choice. I'm not really sure if they are or not. I didn't read through the entire article, and it's a very long article, and I'm sure it's a fantastic article. You should go support them and read it if you like. Once again, it's called Consciousness 101 by Storywaters. But this part that we read, I like very much, but I don't agree with the entire thing, which seems to be more like saying, oh, well, nothing really is unpleasant about it, or not that nothing is unpleasant about it, but basically like, well, you chose this. So I just think it's fine to acknowledge that there are unpleasant things about it and that we didn't necessarily choose it in this art incarnation. Now, we chose to have this experience, period, as the absolute at the very beginning of time. So at the very beginning of time, in the last universal cycle, at the very beginning of time, yes, we chose wipe our memories, shatter, Big Bang, have this experience. Yes. This particular incarnation, this particular localization as your current avatar in your life, for most people was unconscious. Maybe not for you, maybe not for certain people. Maybe not for certain minds, but for a lot of them, it was an unconscious decision, unconscious choice, unconscious consequence, however you want to phrase it. But the point is that when we are trying to get to, a new phase of existence, we need to not be focused on escape, but rather be focused on transforming. And I say this all the time, we're gods. Gods don't escape. Gods create, gods transform, and gods enjoy their creation. So that's the whole point. To create this world, to create the new beginning, to create the neogenian, and transform it and enjoy our world, enjoy our creation. That's the whole point. That's what we're here to do. And the more we try to escape, the longer that's going to take. And we need to have we need to do this together. This is why together we are the new beginning. We are neogenians together. We can't do this on I can't do it just by myself. No, you can't do it by yourself. We can only do it together when you and I work together to do this. And then we can do anything. We can do anything we will. And so we will create this world according to our will, which is a beautiful planetary civilization, a teleocracy, which is a purposeful world that benefits everybody. Now, doesn't that sound nice? And it's really not a utopia. It's not a crazy idea. It's really square one. It's basic. Because then we have a whole new phase of existence to explore. We have the entire phase of planetary civilization. And guess what? We're not over. That's not done. Then we reach Holos independence. We establish our own CFD, our own sub-universe, our own subverse. And a whole new phase exists within there as well. We have a lot to go through. There's so much more to life. And we can start experiencing it and enjoying it right now as we come together. And we can start enjoying it right now because we are, being excited about the fact that we are the new beginning. Like, this is us. This is what we're doing. We're starting it right now. We are the catalyst for a new future. So being excited about being part of that, and that's why this neogenian community is so important, to be able to collaborate together on this new world and co-create it, and will form it. So the answer is, will you reincarnate on Earth again? Probably, but that's not a bad thing. Now, ultimately, will we have the ability to localize elsewhere? Yeah. Eventually, we'll be able to localize within our own universe that we have created and do whatever we want there, simply by, at that point, using our minds to alter the frequencies of those domains. We'll be able to will form simply by thought, because we will be the contributing frequencies to that domain and be able to, do what we so will there. But anyway, as for right now, localizing on Earth is very, very likely. So let's create that new world so that it can be a great experience, a fantastic experience, and we can be excited to do it and go on this beautiful journey together, which we have so much to do and explore and experience together. Like, I'm excited for it. We have not only this, but then we're going to build a beautiful planetary civilization together, and then we can establish our own universe together. Like, there's a lot. Like, we have a lot to do here together, and it's exciting to do this with you guys, with all of us. Like, this community that we're creating is the foundation of what will ultimately be a new universe. So that's something very positive to look forward to. In the meantime, yeah, there's some very unpleasant things about it, but that's why we're here for each other, and we explore, learn, and grow together. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, my friend. This is a members only video. I release one members only video or so once a month, so maybe you'll see this, maybe you won't, I don't know. But shout out to everyone who supports, as always, especially Cassidy, Renaissance Fairy, Angela, Fairies of Venus, DB, William, Enki, Nusalina, Jose, everyone else. I appreciate it very much.